That is not the first time that's happened, and I don't understand why it's doing that. That's so annoying. Welcome to Eviliv3, a celebration of my favorite tabletop role-playing games. This is the sister channel to Eviliv3. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, because today we are reviewing Steve Jackson Games' In Nomine, The Sorcerer's Impediments. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with In Nomine, it is a tabletop role-playing game based on angels and demons. And there's a whole lot more to it than that. But the overarching background premise is that there's a war in heaven and in hell, and primarily on earth. And so you, as a character, take up a role as an angel or a demon or a human or some other sort of fae-type creature. And basically, you just go through an adventure or do your own thing or whatever. But the basic idea is that there's a war going on that humanity is pretty much ignorant to. And so you can easily extrapolate the idea that this, like the Prophecy film series, which I've reviewed on Eviliv channel, which I love those films. It's loosely based on the idea as well that there's a war, a second war in heaven. And I've always loved, of all of the different mythologies, like real life mythologies on our planet, I think Abrahamic mythology might be my favorite because I love the idea of heaven and hell and Satan and Michael, the Archangel Michael, and this constant battle over earth. And even some of the apocryphal writings that were sort of tossed out at the Council of Nicaea when they were putting the Bible together in 325 AD under the demand of Emperor Constantine of Rome, because Rome was failing and they needed a national religion. There was a lot of really interesting mythology that was just sort of scrapped, like the idea of fallen angels coming to earth and actually being obsessed with human women and then mating with them and creating something called the Nephilim. I mean, all sorts of really cool stuff. Well, this tabletop role-playing game actually incorporates a lot of that. But I think the strength of this tabletop role-playing game is not just that it has a really cool mythology that it's based off of. It's actually a really great game system that can be played in all sorts of different types of games, and in my opinion is much better than the World of Darkness Storyteller's game system, in which you could play all of those, whether it's werewolf or vampire or hunter or mage, the Ascension, or whatever. And what I'm talking about today is this starter adventure called The Sorcerer's Impediments. Now, it's a free download both on Steve Jackson Games' website and on DriveThruRPG. And it's basically a starter set. It's basically like a beginner adventure. It contains all the rules that you need to play this scenario presented in it, and the scenario would probably take you about 2 hours maybe to play through. Now, I have actually gone through in Roll20, which is a virtual tabletop, and I've created a digital In Nomine character sheet so that it does all the math on all the rolls, and you just sort of apply all the mechanics. And I've gone through great lengths to make sure this works properly. And I've got the VTT set out. So for brand new players who want to experience what In Nomine as a game system is, I am 100% set up and ready. So much so that I even signed up to start playing .games and set up a playthrough of it. Yeah, Corey. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in, by the way. But yeah, absolutely. That was from the Book of Enoch. I put together a playthrough using this campaign for tonight. Not one person signed up for it. So clearly people are not keyed into wanting to play this game or being aware of this game. And in fact, Steve Jackson Games doesn't even actively support it anymore. They, like in their Discord, it's not one of the games referenced on their website. You have to dig into their forums to find anything. Whenever I used to post things in their forum, it would get deleted the next day. So I just don't think they're interested in supporting this game in any way. I, however, am. And so I love talking about it. I love running players through it. And I think it's a really great game. It came out in the early 90s when they were trying to sort of capitalize on this whole World of Darkness storytelling fan base that was being built globally. And so they based this game off of the French version called In Nomine Veritas by Croc. And so this is all backstory as to what In Nomine, the tabletop role-playing game, is. This is a review of that free adventure, The Sorcerer's Impediments. It's it's not really an adventure as much as it's a scenario. You're basically set up to run through this. It has generated characters, 3 of them, 2 angels and 1 human. And then it has the antagonists, which I don't really want to give away, except obviously one of them is a sorcerer. So he's human, but he's tapped into infernal powers and magic. It's the setup of this is really great. If you love like modern alt reality type playing for tabletop role-playing games like the World of Darkness, I think you would really dig this game as well. And again, it's based off of, angels and demons and stuff, even though it does have vampires and undead and monsters. It has all the stuff, and sorcerers and humans. And humans can actually be gifted by celestials and turned into what's referred to as soldiers, either soldiers for God or soldiers for hell. And the humans then can use powers and stuff like that. The human in this pre-generated character sheet is a soldier for heaven. So this was actually written by Elizabeth McCoy. Again, it's set as a introductory adventure for people who don't know anything about In Nomine. It was edited by Scott Alott. It's illustrated by Ramon Perez and Dan Smith. And again, it's just meant to showcase the modern day role-playing game of angels and demons fighting for the future of the world. The adventure itself has all the rules that you need to play. To get the full In Nomine experience, they suggest you pick up the core rule book. This is the cover of the core rule book. And the premise of this adventure is that your characters are minor angels in the service of an archangel. So your current assignment in this, the setup as it were, is that you are sent to investigate the source of a disturbance in the symphony. Now, that's not going to make any sense to you if you don't know what the game is about. But the symphony is basically everything. It's the universe, right? So when someone disrupts the symphony, they're using power, or either divine or infernal, or they're doing something that is an aberration of reality. That creates a ripple in this fabric of space-time, which is the symphony, and that is noticed by other celestial beings. And so, and it's something that you try to tamp down as angels, and you try to avoid as demons, because that would then draw angels to what you're doing. So you try your best not to make too much of a wave as you're going about using your powers, influencing and destroying and stuff like that. However, this sorcerer has been dabbling in infernal powers and has his own little machinations. And so he has created this ripple in the symphony that the angels have noticed, and now they're investigating it to see what the hell is going on, and then stop it for whatever it is. Your current assignment is to investigate the disturbance in the symphony, and you've basically tracked the disturbance down after having spent some time doing it, and you're now standing in front of a decrepit house on the outskirts of town. So what it's done is taken these pre-generated characters and placed them in an existing scenario, so you don't have to do all of the setup beforehand. Like, okay, well, this is what your character is, and you hear this disturbance, and it's coming from some direction. Let's find out where. You don't have to deal with any of that crap. It drops you right down at the beginning of the action. You found the house where the disturbance came from. Now you need to figure out what it is and stop it. And clearly the source of the disturbance is inside the house. Now, the house itself is this run-down, just normal house on this big plot of land, but it's up to the players. How do you approach this? Now, yes, you're angels for 2 of the players. One of the players is human, but you're in your corporeal bodies. You're in these physical manifestations on Earth. So angels and demons, they can actually just be their celestial essence on the corporeal plane / Earth, but they prefer to take up the form of another human so that they don't cause any problems. Most people wouldn't even see an angel or demon if they walked right through it, but it is possible. And so to avoid any problem, they just basically manifest a vessel, as it's referred to, a body. And so you can use any of the talents given to you in this game, any of the skills and any of the what's called songs, but basically they're spells. You can use any way of investigation or kicking doors in or however you want to do it as players to find out what is the manifestation of this disturbance, what's caused it, and how to stop it. But it's really just a really great way of giving you a playground area and saying, okay, now stretch your legs and see what this game is about. Just do whatever you want to try to do, and we'll work on the outcome. And what's great about this starter game, not only does it set you right up into the action, it's like right at the beginning of potential action or investigation, certainly mystery. It also gives you all of the information you need about the bad guys, and there's some rich storytelling to unfold. I mean, it's not massive in its scope, but it's enough that if you wanted this to be a jumping off point for a campaign, or if you just wanted this to be a standalone, it would serve both purposes. And it gives you a really great understanding that this game about heaven and hell isn't just about heaven and hell. It's actually about the mortal reality that's existing concurrently with this war, and how the fallout of it, how it sort of happens to all the humans, and what the humans end up doing when they sort of stumble across this. So as every, sort of left-hand path kid or new age or occultnik type kid in the 90s that I was growing up with, they were always trying to find ways of using magic and spells and arcane wisdom and, occult knowledge. And it was just something that we were all into as kids. And I love that stuff. I think it's really, really cool, even though it's just a big hunk of bullshit. But it's still fun as hell. What if it wasn't bullshit? What if you actually stumbled across something that worked? What if it was real? That's kind of the premise of this game for humans. Like, you just happen to stumble across something and you realize, oh my gosh, this isn't bullshit. This is real. This is really happening. Oh my gosh. And then that creates the disturbance, hence brings in all the celestials to find out what the hell is going on, because you stumbled on something you're not supposed to stumble on as a human being. And so it's a really cool scenario. It's written well, and it leaves a whole lot of information up to the players and the game master, as it's referred to in this game system, to basically just figure out what happens from there. It gives you some basic ideas about, if this happens, this character might do that, or if that happens, this character might do that. But really, it's entirely open-ended, and it's entirely up to you. You're just given all the information you need in order to execute that. So it is very much what is referred to as a theater of the mind type game, meaning there's not really battle maps where you have little character tokens that you're moving around on the battle map and stuff like that. You can do it, and I have actually run this game where you do use battle maps, and it can be fun, but it's really much more of a loose storytelling game than it is a hardcore game mechanic type game, even though the game mechanics can get pretty burdensome because the player's handbook is the core rule handbook is not organized well at all. It's a nightmare to try to understand. But once you understand it, it's super simple. I've made a bunch of videos, and they're on this channel about how to play and stuff like that. So hopefully that eases the barrier of entry for people who want to try this thing out. Anyway, this is all to say, I really thought this was going to be a fun just intro to Nomine, and I'm hoping that I can run it again in the future for other people. Even if tonight didn't end up panning out, that's okay, that's life. I'm going to continue trying to introduce others to this game system because, again, you can play Hellraiser-style games in this, you can play Evil Dead-style games in this, you can play World of Darkness style games in this, like vampires or werewolves. And I've got a whole campaign setting that I've been actually in the process of refining since I was, playing this back in the 90s, called Ava Malum, which is all about this game system. And of course, I'm going to be making my own. I'm probably just going to modify the DL6 or just use the DL6 game system that I've developed for my Direlands campaign setting for this, because they're not horribly dissimilar, but there are some adjustments and changes and stuff. But that's all to say that I love this game system. I love the mythology of the world of it, and it's something that I would definitely do. Cthulhu, could you use? Yeah, I mean, I think this would be better than Call of Cthulhu personally. I just don't really like the Call of Cthulhu game mechanics that much, and I would definitely use this game system over Call of Cthulhu if I could get players willing to try this goddamn game. That's the hardest thing, is like, oh yeah, this game that's no longer supported. Hey, how about we try it? I have everything that's ever been released, but in this game, that's how much I love it. I need players. Like, let's do this thing. So in any case, I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 Evil Eyes. That's the highest rating I can give it. And this is because I think this is the goal of this adventure is to introduce new players to In Nomine. And I think this little adventure does exactly that perfectly. It not only allows you to dip your toe in, it doesn't burden you down with having to know all of the rules. It provides you everything you need in the 9-page document in order to run the actual game itself, whether you're a GM or whether you're the players themselves. It's definitely worth the price of entry, which is free. I've got the links in the description below if you ever want to pick it up and just check it out. It's definitely worth it. I highly recommend it. And for anyone out there that is interested in running through In Nomine, or maybe even this starter game, this starter adventure with me, hit me up. Leave a comment below and I'll reach out to you. Ultimately, I'm on startplaying.games. If you use my referral link in the description below, you'll get $10 to sign up. And then, of course, you can find me as a DM and ideally, see all the games I'm running. But if you want me to run this for you, I will be happy to run it for you. And it'll be a lot of fun. And you'll learn how to play In Nomine and hopefully want to play in a long-term campaign. There is a massive campaign that they've released for this. They have a whole bunch of sort of one-off adventures, and I have my own in it that I'm going to be running. So my own campaign. You're in the Discord. Sounds interesting. Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. All right. Well, that is going to do it. Let me give a quick shout out. Thank you to the creator patron Aaron Hardy, producer patron Azrael, and developer patrons Chris Androu and Sam Ruiz. And of course, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, this YouTube channel here, Eviliv3. Like the video and comment. This is just to help other people understand that not only is this channel a thing, but also that In Nomine is a thing, and it's worth your time to look into and give it a go, because you'll probably have a hell of a good time playing it. All right. Thank you for tuning in. As like it or not, evil spelled backwards is live. So get out there and be evil.